What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 52 of Podcast Reload, a general gaming podcast where we invite Sifted.net community guests from around the world onto the show to talk about video games and the games industry in all its weird ways. I'm your host, the Seoul Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski, and joining us today are two Sifted guests, Vincent.
Yeah, welcome, whatever.
and Mitch.
What's up, guys?
Actually, we have no AKAs this time. It's I should just probably change my name on the site to Evan. It'd probably be easier. But yeah, Mitch, thanks for coming on again. What is this? Your fifth time?
4. I think it's 4.
4. Okay, and Vincent, your first time on the show.
Yeah.
And actually, Vincent is a content curator for Sifted. So he helps Shane out curating all the content, or a lot of the content, a chunk of the content, so that Shane can use that extra time to actually make, not premium content, but more content for the site. So I appreciate you doing the good work.
You're welcome. And if anyone else is interested, I'm sure Shane will let you help as well. Because most of it's been me and Shane, and especially on weekends when Shane's doing other things.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I think Shane gave you a shout out on Game Face saying that like you're really awesome at writing those blurbs. So yeah, good on you for that. I would actually do it, but I'm a terrible writer, so I have zero confidence in anything. Like I couldn't read an article and then make like a sentence, like a blurb about said article, highlighting all the major points without it sounding terrible. So, but
it's
yeah,
not really that hard in a lot of cases. Mostly you just you try to summarize it, or you just take like the first sentence or the last sentence and you summarize that. That's probably the easiest part. Or you say like what a video says in the description. You just list stuff out.
Okay. All right. So if you want to be a content curator for Sifted, those are Vincent's hot tips. And yeah, if you're interested, send Shane a message. He could use the help, definitely, so he can spend his time doing other things for the site. All right, awesome. Yeah, so you guys, thanks for coming on, and let's move on to the video game vault. So we are making a vault fit for the most noteworthy, historically important, prestigious, or just simply awesome video games of all time. I don't want to sound too pretentious about that. Just a game that you like. So if you could pick one game to put in a giant video game vault to survive an earthly cataclysm in order for future generations to play and learn from, what game would you choose? So I will start out with Vincent. What game are you putting in the vault this week?
I'm going to do an easy one and say Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The reason it's good because it's the pinnacle of that formula of the dungeon crawling with 2D, with simple controls, find items, use them to solve puzzles. But what's best about it is what everyone else has done with it. Have either of you heard of a Link to the Past randomizer?
No.
Yes, I have heard of that. It must have popped up on Sifted at some point, but I never clicked on the article.
Yeah, I remember that at Awesome's Game Done Quick they did a race of it. But the basic idea is that you just take all the items and all the chests, like random rupees, items, the main key items, keys in dungeons, and you shuffle them all around. So like the first chest where you normally find the lamp, you can find like the fire rod or a boomerang or a heart piece.
Does it randomize it in such a way where no matter how it's randomized, you actually can get through a dungeon? Yeah. Like it's not going to break the game?
Yeah, the people who have done that have like all kinds of options to do that. Like,
okay, that makes
there's
sense.
Simple things like there's an option that says like you start with a sword like you normally would, like you get it from your uncle in the dungeon. There's
he's always about to die. That they don't randomize that. He'll never live.
Yeah, or or there's an option that says like the 4 sword upgrades are randomly in the chest, so you have to find your first sword. Then there's an option that says there's no swords in the game at all.
Oh god.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what the race at AGDQ was.
Okay.
Then there's also options based on how glitchy you want the game to do, like how many glitches you can do to make it so you have more freedom.
Right,
Like,
right.
as a simple way, there's a glitch that allows you to swim without the flippers. You can, like, one of the settings lets you do that. Like, puts that in the logic where you might have to do that in order to get the items you need.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds actually. I'm gonna check that out then.
Yeah, I just wish there was an easier way to do it 100% legally. Because what
Right,
you
right.
basically need is you need a Japanese 1.0 ROM, then you put it in a program that give it a seed number, and then it generates a new ROM that has all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like too much work for me. I guess I'll just watch a video on it. But
Yeah, that's what
Link-
I've thought. Like, I wish I could play it
yeah,
easily. They should just make that official. Then, of course, other things like they got all kinds of costumes that probably wouldn't be legal.
right, right.
It's a fun fan creation. The people who make it are great.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I bought a Super Famicom Mini a couple months ago, and I have like yet to really dig into it. But because I'm kind of in a lull of like a game to play at the moment, I might actually turn it on and play some Link to the Past.
Yeah, the game
It's a
itself
great
is still
game.
good.
Oh, it's a classic. It's a timeless game. It still looks great. Some people trash pink haired Link, but I think he's all right.
It's a game I've never tackled that I've always wanted to try to tackle. So eventually,
Oh, really? Yeah, you should totally do it.
I gotta get at it because it's a classic, and so you gotta play the classics.
One thing I always thought that was funny is the last shield upgrade that you get, the mirror shield. It's like so comically big. It like covers like half of his face. I always thought that was funny. All right, that is an awesome. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So no complaints there. But we do have to move on. So all right, we have A Link to the Past thrown into the video game vault. And Mitch, how about yourself? What game are you putting in this week?
I'm going really left field with you guys, so bear with me. So I'm going to choose South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Interesting.
And here's my reason why: is because of the circumstances that we have to survive an earthly cataclysm, and so future generations need to learn things. Well, why not give them a big piece of pulp culture with some video games in it? So
okay, you're trying to do the two birds,
one
argument
stone.
here, right?
So hey, they're
Okay.
gonna know what the past looked like by South Park's humor of tackling things like abortion. Great topic to tackle, and,
Right.
and yet give them a cool classical RPG to tackle it with. Except
Okay.
the only thing that I'm nervous about is people thinking that farting on people was socially acceptable back in the day.
Yeah. It's like the new generation of humans. That's like how they greet each other or something. They just think that's like that's part of it. That's funny. Actually, I bought this game. It's on my PS3, which I haven't turned on since I got my PS4, and I never played it. And I've always heard good things about it. I should really get back to it. I just can't. I can't go back to the PlayStation, the DualShock 3. I can't do it.
Well, you don't
need to.
You don't need to. You can use your PS4
Oh.
controller, or
That's
Yeah,
right.
and they-
That's right.
They just released it on current gen standalone, so you don't have to get the lackluster sequel.
yeah, or
yeah,
you
I've heard.
lackluster sequel. I liked the sequel.
Yeah, it's still not as good as Stick of Truth.
Oh, I definitely agree with you 100%.
I mean,
on
it's
that
still
one.
probably fine, but the problem is a lot of it's the humor, and that doesn't seem to be as good.
I thought the humor was okay.
But then again, it's amazing that this happened at all based on the problems. Like, remember, this was part of the old THQ library, I think, before Ubisoft picked it up.
Well, the Stick of Truth was, and that was probably one of the most amazing parts about that game. I was looking forward to that game before THQ went under, and when I heard THQ went under, I was like, no, what is going to happen to this game? Because I really wanted this game. Like, I think that the South Park like Stick of Truth was probably the best game adaptation of a property from a TV show that had nothing to do with video games. So like those Simpsons games, not comparison, not even close. South Park Stick of Truth beats them in a nutshell. Right. The only problem I had with the Fractured Butthole was its villain. I think the villain wasn't good enough, and it kind of fell flat with some of the jokes. But you could get the Fractured Butthole and get the Stick of Truth for free, Evan, on the PS4. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll check. It is a game I do wanna check out, and it's not that long. Like, I could probably beat it in a couple days.
Oh yeah. If you go straight through story, yeah, easy. 20 hours tops.
Okay, so okay. Well, I'll have to play it. It's in the vault now. I don't know if that's a rule though, because Skyrim's on here and I haven't played that. But anyways, the current list, updated list, is in the vault: Skyrim, Metal Gear Solid, Fallout 2, Dark Souls, Eco, A Link to the Past, and South Park: The Stick of Truth. All right. So moving on to what we've been playing this week. So Vincent, how about you? What have you been playing?
My main game I've been playing has been a lot of Dragon Quest Builders for Switch. I've actually never...
Oh, that just came out, didn't it?
Yeah. It was last week, I think. Yeah. Like, I've never actually played Minecraft. It's another one of my holes because there's no real point to it. I like trying to have a point with my games. And I've actually never really played much Dragon Quest either, but this managed to just hit both things. Minecraft with a point. It's interesting. I'm not that far into it. I'm still into chapter 1, and I could already see where it might be getting monotonous, where it's like, but thankfully they haven't had much grind out so many of this material. I just mostly get it going from quest to quest, which has been surprising.
Yeah, I played Minecraft a little bit, and my always, like, I had a friend that used to like build a lot of nice stuff, and I would just go in it and I'd just dig a hole and barrel myself in there and get lost and then stuck and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I'm not as creative, so it's so hard for me to even like tackle that game, to know what to do. I always have to like go, help me, like my shovel broke, what do I do?
See, I think I've never played Minecraft, but like I need to, like I said, I'm a single player gamer. It's like, if you put me in that world, it's like, how do I beat it? It's like, I can't be, okay, never mind.
And then how people watch that game for hours on end, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Oh, but so that's why you curate content, Vincent. You write good blurbs, Minecraft, but with a point. So
yeah, I think I actually stole that from one of the reviews of it.
Oh, okay. Well, at least
it's still honest. A good thing.
But you like it. It's an enjoyable game so far.
Yeah, like the one other neat thing is that the story is actually kind of relevant. So in the original,
go ahead. I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, in the original Dragon Quest, like it's a very paint by numbers JRPG story, but like at the end, you have the evil doer like say, "You should join me" and stuff. And of course, in the like Dragon Quest 1, you say no. But this is what happens if you say yes. The whole world goes blank and is destroyed, kind of, sort of. And then you become like the enlightened person who can build everything back to the way it was.
Right. And I think that's so cool that they did that.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't even need to bother with that because it's just build stuff. But that's a cool history. Like, I don't care about Dragon Quest at all, but that's just so cool.
Yeah, that they didn't have to. It's basically Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a building game, but they didn't have to put that story in there. But they actually tied it in with like an alternate timeline to the first game. That's pretty neat. Mitch, how about you? What have you been playing?
I've been playing a little classic that you like, Sir Evan. It is called Yakuza Kiwami.
Yakuza Kiwami. Yakuza Kiwami just means extreme, by the way.
Yeah.
Technically, Kiwami, it means extreme in Japanese. I didn't know if you knew that. Sorry. But Yakuza Kiwami. I think it came out in the States in like August of last year.
Yeah, I saw it on a sale for, probably in November during Black Friday kind of day. I went to go shopping and then I checked out the PlayStation Store. I was like, oh, Evan keeps talking about Yakuza, so I'll give it a shot.
So this is your first...
My first Yakuza experience.
And all right. Let me know. What do you got?
So
I'm nervous.
It plays like a soap opera, which is really interesting to see in a video game. It plays like those Spanish soap operas, but in Japan.
It's very melodramatic. Yeah. In a lot of sections. Yeah.
I am probably about, I want to say maybe 10 hours in so far.
Okay. It's on the shorter side of the series.
Yeah, and the the most difficult part was when I was trying to decide when to play this. I was like, do I play 0 first or do I play Kiwami first? And then do I go to 0? So I just took Kiwami because it was cheaper at the time. But I like it. I like the combat. I think it's kind of cool and fresh with the like mixing positions and different positions that you're in. And like it's not easy, but yet it's still satisfying enough that the difficulty is worth where you kind of have to have a good strategy going into it. And then
are you playing what are you playing it on?
Whatever the regular is.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to go super hard.
Oh, fuck that, man. I made the mistake of playing my first Yakuza game, which was Yakuza 4. I played it on hard, and holy shit is that game hard on hard. And since 4, I've played it on normal because those games get super, super hard because some of the bosses, they're very arcadey. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Just when the boss has like a third of his life left, he'll just like power up and then he's just like automatic. He's invincible. Like there's so many invisible frames, like all of that really arcade, like Sega arcadey shit starts happening, and it does get frustrating. So normal is the way to go with the series. I recommend.
The game looks amazing though, but yet it still like feels like it's still a PS2 game, but yet that's still so satisfying. And like, oh man, I'm excited. I like the mellow. I like the drama. I like where it's going. The only scary part is like, I don't know where to go from here after I hit 0 because I don't know if 2 through up to, because I think 6 is coming out in the States. So I just don't know how to fill in that time gap unless I like looked up videos to see like what the story is and how in the world is there 6 games?
Yeah, that's a really hard one. I recommend because Yakuza 0 is the same engine as Yakuza Kiwami. Okay. I almost recommend waiting it out to see if Kiwami 2 is released. Because so at this point I've played every game but 3. But I started with 4. I did 4, 5, 6, 0, Kiwami 2. Okay. But there are things that happen in 4 and 5 that are like so critical to the overarching story of Kiryu in 6 that I would not recommend jumping from like Kiwami or 0 Kiwami to 6, even though it might, if you like those games a lot, it might be like you might want to because
you can buy it.
Yeah, so that's a hard one, man. Like I don't know what you do. Like I would, because I started with 4, and when I beat 6, I felt like I knew these characters enough that like the ending of 6 was super satisfying. And then I went to 0 and 1, and I learned about like Kiryu's start, right, in the Yakuza underworld and stuff like that. But still, like I don't feel like anything was lost on me. But it's hard. It's like, hey, go turn your PlayStation 3 on and play 4. Like I don't know what to recommend, I still think 4 and 5 are playable games. They don't look as good. I mean, they're a bit rough on the eyes, at this point in 2018. But if you like the games enough, but you're able to hold on, I would say maybe hold on for Kiwami 2, and then if you want more, jump into 4 and 5 and then 6. Like I don't know, it's a hard one.
Yeah, but super fun game. Anybody has not played it, it is very much a very dense open world. Like you can go anywhere. It's insane. There's so much to do, and like not even story related stuff to do. But I like it. The combat is arcadey, but it's like satisfying that it's like a fun, cheap fighter.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Last time I always bring this up. Mick Womble has called me out on it. Last time I recommended a Yakuza game and the person came on after they played it, Mick Womble was not a fan of Yakuza 0, which is fine. He loved the fighting. So he said if there was just a game with this fighting, he'd play it all day, but he wasn't interested in the story stuff and like the constant text crawling of, like all these like situations going on and on and on and on, which I understand. But yeah. Well, I'm glad that you like it. Yeah. Give if you're not satiated by the time you finish Kiwami, I would recommend jumping into 0. All right, and then to wrap up what we've been playing, I got to replay my favorite game of all time, Shadow of the Colossus.
Ooh, the remake?
Yep.
Ah.
I bought it on last Tuesday, and I platinumed the game by the next Tuesday.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like, I exist in a world where they remade my favorite game of all time, so no complaints from me. The remake is great. It's interesting because the PS3 HD. Have you guys played, Vincent? Have you played Shadow of the Colossus?
No, unfortunately not. It seems interesting though.
It's
yeah. It's one of those. I don't own a Sony platform, so
right.
unfortunately that doesn't work.
It's a very unique game. Interestingly enough, playing it, because I haven't played it for years. Playing it now, I think that the devs at Nintendo saw things in Shadow of the Colossus that they adapted into Breath of the Wild.
The climbing mechanic.
Because there's the climbing mechanic, yeah. The way the climbing works is very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
In some areas, I mean, you can't climb everything in Shadow of the Colossus, but just putting a lot of faith in the atmosphere of the environment and not giving you something to do at every turn. I mean, like, in Shadow of the Colossus, you start in the shrine and you cross, you have to find a Colossus, you cross like a giant, there's nothing there in between there. It's just about the journey of getting there. And a lot of that, like just riding on a horse across this empty plain, and like the camera pans out and there's just like mountains and all this stuff. It's like, oh, this totally reminds me of Breath of the Wild. Like, it's very atmospheric in that sense. But the game's great. I know people like bash the game for like the controls and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, I get frustrated a lot, but I've never really had a problem with the controls.
Did the remake help the controls a little bit? Because that's I've heard some reviewers mention that they kind of helped the controls a little bit on this remake.
They seem a bit tighter. The game's a bit easier, I would say. Funnily enough, you know how they offer the remapped control option, because in the original game triangle is jump?
Oh yeah, that was so frustrating.
Right. Here's the thing though. I switched it to X and I didn't like it, and I put it back to triangle.
Interesting.
Which I did not. The reason is to hold on to climb is R1. So pretty much all you're doing in this game is jumping and pressing R1. So like triangle, you have your thumb on triangle, and just triangle is closer to the R1 button. So you kind of keep your entire hand on the upper part of the controller. It was just easier for me to constantly tap triangle to jump and hit R1 to hold on. It just gotcha. Which I didn't expect. Like, I was happy that they changed jump to X, or cross rather. But yeah, but whatever. One thing I do like is I will say that I have a friend who platinumed the PlayStation 3 HD remastered version, which is insane because it's actually based on the PAL version, which is harder. There are some time attacks in that game that are like broken. Like you got to kill Gaius, which is the third Colossus. Trying to hold onto his belly and stab it at the same time, it's like almost impossible. He said it took him 4 hours to do it. In this game, the time attack mode, especially hard time attack, is way easier, which I'm happy because it gave me the opportunity to actually. I think it took me about 5.5 or 6 playthroughs to get the platinum. But in order to get the platinum, I actually played the game. I played this version of the game more than I've played of any other version of the game. And so I was happy to like poke and prod the game more than I ever have, especially since it's my favorite game. So I actually I know the map better. I've beaten all the Colossi like 8 times over, so I know like the strategies better. So it was like nice to learn more about my favorite game. I think I clocked about 20 hours into a game that's essentially 4 hours to beat. But it's great. I'm kind of sad that I'm done playing it because I wish I could play it a bit more, but I need to move on to some other stuff. But yeah, it's great. Blue Point did amazing work. I'm looking forward to whatever they're going to make. I don't know, like, what do you guys, do you think Blue Point is going to try to make their own game or move on to another remake? Because they're pretty much like,
I thought I read something on Sifted that they're working on another remaster
Oh,
for
yeah,
Sony.
yeah.
I just can't
Okay,
remember which one, so I'm going to look it up really quick.
man. If you know, it's funny, like because like Eco and Shadow are set in the same universe. A lot of the textures and the assets are essentially the same, like literally the same, actually the same. So if they already have made those text, they always have those texture packs, like and the engine, like they could make Eco, they could make an Eco remake. They totally could. They already have all that stuff. Vin would be through the fucking roof. By the way, he'd be over the moon. I was gonna say through the moon, but I'm pretty sure it's over the moon.
Yeah,
He'd probably go through the moon as well. Who knows?
probably destroy the
He'd be
moon.
really excited, but yeah, it's just through the moon. Yeah, but yeah, I whatever they're doing next, I'm really interested in because they did a great job with this remake. It's a dream come true, and then I get to play the Fist of the North Star game in about 2 weeks. So dreams do come true, everyone. Just gotta hope and get lucky and know the right people and make connections. All right, moving on to our topics of the show. The first topic is actually something that's been swinging around in my head. It's something I've actually wanted to bring up on the show, and we have the opportunity to do it now. So the first topic of the show is, what game publisher are you not interested in? Now, this can be a game publisher that you've played their games or a couple games, but maybe on the whole, it's just a publisher you just, for whatever reason, maybe it's a genre-based thing, or for whatever reason, you just don't play any of their games, or for whatever reason. It's a terrible intro, by the way. But so let's. I'll throw it off to Vincent. So what game publishers' games are you just not interested in playing, or don't play, or haven't played on the whole?
It's probably going to surprise it, but I don't care about Rockstar at all.
Interesting. I didn't know where you.
Yeah.
You said you had one. I didn't know where you were going with it. Have you played any of the Rockstar games?
Not really at all, because GTA doesn't really interest me, and nothing else has been at the time that I really care about it. Like, they had the Rockstar Humble Bundle, and I probably could have gotten, like, caught up on most of the non-GTA 5 stuff through that, but
Right.
I just didn't care.
You know, it's
I
interesting.
don't know what it is.
When I played, I remember playing GTA 1 and 2, and I loved them. I was terrible at the games because I just didn't know what the hell to do in them. And then when GTA 3 came out, it blew me away. I mean, it was like basically the first fully realized open world game, and I never even beat that game. I just spent hours and hours I couldn't believe you could just go anywhere. You could punch people in the face, like, you know, everything that you can do in a GTA game. And I did the same thing in GTA 4, never beat it. I just played around in that world, got drunk, went bowling, drove around, hit people with cars, that type of thing. And I actually beat GTA 5. But I think the GTA games are just okay. Like, they're great sandboxes to run around in, but I actually think the stories are not that good. And if you want to be really redundant about the gameplay, all you do in those games is drive from A to B and then trigger a cutscene and then drive from A to B and then do some okay shooting. You're just constantly moving from A to B. And it's just like, after a while, I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know, there'll be two people in the car talking, you know, while you're driving from one location to the other. It's just like, I don't really care what you guys are talking about. I just want to get to the location. And that's something with open world games that I do have an issue with. Is it's nice when you have a linear game, because it trims all of that fat of just just moving from one location to another on a giant map.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, almost for exactly word for word what you say. Like,
really?
With me, GTA 3 was a big eye opener for me with games, and I remember like clear memory as a kid of like, we would play this game, and because I was really young. I think I was like in late elementary, because I played games since I was really, really little. And And what would happen is I would play like a day in the life of a human being. And so I would like go find what job I'm going to do. And if the cop car is locked, then I'm going to go see if the ambulance is unlocked. And then I'm going to play like I'm the ambulance driver and drive around and beat up some people and save their lives. And then drive around the ambulance. And then me and my friend would play and we would switch off when you die. But I always got frustrated because sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm in a mood. I just want to go like run around, beat up people and try to get the cop meter as high as possible and die. And then this other person, my friend, is playing like the day in the life and it takes like 30 minutes for him to finish his turn. I'm just like, damn it. But no, like I think the only...
So that stuff's cool.
Right.
I mean, when you talk about a game like that, it has nothing to do with the story. You guys kind of did your own thing. Like that's the best part of those GTA games, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I played GTA 4 and I finished the story, and it wasn't as good as I expected it to be. I think the only sandbox game that was like close where I really enjoyed the story was Sleeping Dogs, and just because I love the whole kung fu,
I really like that game.
That story was really good, and it really. I don't know. It just impacted a lot more compared to like GTA 4, and then GTA 5. I tried to beat that game and I just found the characters not as compelling, and it made me not want to finish it. And it's usually just the same thing. And I think that's what's unfortunate for those games. It's mostly just the same thing with a couple adjustments. And I don't think it's as life-changing and game-changing as people make it out to be.
No, yeah, I just kind of think they're okay. Nico was a cool character. I will say Nico was like an awesome guy. But yeah, GTA 5, it's like the only redeemable person in that group was Franklin. Like Trevor was a piece of shit that I didn't like. He just got really annoying. He's way too over the top for me. And then Michael was just like, he was just a fucking sad sack like asshole. Franklin was the only interesting character in it. But yeah, it's just like I don't remember anything in that game except for some of the heists and then just running around beating people up and driving. But all right, so Vincent, so you're not GTA games have never really caught you. What about Red Dead Redemption? Did you ever play that?
No. I'll be honest, it kind of passed me by. I love the way you said that. It just passed me by because it was a Western. I'll be honest, a lot of this is my Nintendo bias because I don't actually own a PlayStation console or an Xbox even now.
Oh, like you never have?
No. I mean, I have relatives that has a PlayStation, but like PlayStation 4 and all that, but otherwise it's just been Nintendo consoles and a halfway decent PC that lets me fill in some of the gaps.
Oh, okay, so you have a PC, so at least you can fill in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just you've seen YouTube videos, you've seen the ads, you've heard people talk about the games, and it's just like
I follow news and stuff. See, it's good. Like you were talking about the story, that's another part. Like a lot of it's a sandbox, and for GTA 5, like you say you don't like those characters. I feel like that was part of the point.
Sure.
But I mean, you can do that well. Like the one Rockstar game that interests me was LA Noire. But part of it's that I didn't really play that. I watched a playthrough of it. Okay. Because it was mostly the story more than the gameplay.
Right.
Like the mystery stuff was interesting. And once you've kind of played through it once, you don't really have a reason to play through it again, it seems like. Sure. Because it's telling a story, and once you know how it ends.
I always felt like the reason for those GTA games is to like get to the point to where you unlock basically anything you want, and then you just go to town with doing what you want. And like
I spent most of my time doing that
or
stuff,
I do cheat codes all day long. Just do cheat codes, ride a helicopter, go on the roof, crash it.
Well, like when my friends' kids come over, like that's all they're interested in doing. We pop up the cheat code. You know, it's like IGN always talks about like the most visited wiki page is GTA 5.
Right.
It's like people constantly looking, you know, keeping that cheat code page open while they fuck around in GTA 5.
Or
yeah, it's like
if you go old school, you go to cheatcc.com. That was that.
Oh shit!
Or you got the shark disc. You pop the shark disc in. You let that spin on the PS1, and then you flip the disc over.
Sweet. Wait, what is that? Cheat Code Central, right?
Yeah, I think it was Cheat Code Central.
Yeah. What a name. .com. Yeah, you know what, Vincent? I think that's actually it's an interesting choice. And the more I think about it, like I never played, there's a couple games that look interesting to me, but Like the Warriors looks cool. I never played that. Bully, I never played that. The GTA games, as a sandbox, I appreciate them, and I've spent more time playing golf in GTA 5 than I've spent playing golf in any other game um, ever. I just sit with my friends and get drunk, and we just used to play GTA 5 golf. So like, there's a lot of good things in those games, and they're fun to play. It's just like at the end of the day, it's like a lot of that stuff is really forgettable for me, and it's just I'm not one of those people that like is goes crazy over the GTA license. Like GTA 6 will come out, I will play it, but I'm not gonna go completely nuts like, oh, it's gonna be the best game ever. I will say though that Red Dead Redemption is an awesome game. Like it's probably my favorite game of theirs.
Oh, I think the one game that like really caught my interest that I'm unfortunately never going to be ever going to be able to play was the game that never came out, Agent. I think that premise was so cool, and I was really hoping for that game to actually come out. And to be honest, I played a little bit of Red Dead, and I'm not as convinced. I mean, I think I'll try Red Dead Redemption 2 to see how it goes. But maybe it's just me playing it on the PS3 that I'm like, I'm kind of over this generation already, and I need to just keep playing on newer stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm not saying, it's just weird that, like, that's one of my holes, because one of my things in recent gaming has been trying to fill in the holes, because when you've been raised on Nintendo, you obviously have a bias towards certain genres, so I've been trying to try more things. Like, I know at one point I hadn't played a first-person shooter, like, since, like, the mini games in Banjo-Tooie for forever until like I was actually interested in Titanfall, which is like was a good game, the original, and I still gotta play some more of the sequel, but they screwed up the multiplayer in that one, unfortunately. Still have to play the campaign for that. Like that's
I've heard
also
good things about the campaign.
Yeah, that's why I also tried the MOBA genre, which has me with stupid things that hate me, but I still play them anyway. But like GTA, it actually takes effort to get into that, so I don't want to put in that effort.
I do see where you're coming from, and I think those, I don't want to say that they're overrated, but
it'd be hard for them not to be at this point, honestly.
Overrated.
If you don't think they're like perfect, but everyone says they're perfect, if you don't think that, they're technically overrated in your eyes.
All right, you convinced me. GTA is overrated. All right, move it. Okay, so that's Rockstar for Vincent, and Mitch. How about yourself? What publishers' games are you just not interested in?
Oh, this one's tricky because I have two different reasons for the two different ones, but I think I'm gonna go with EA. I almost said Bethesda, but I think I'm gonna stick with EA on this one.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm glad you didn't choose Bethesda because I might have to cut this podcast
maybe
short.
I'll sneak in Bethesda, kidding. Maybe why I don't get them really quick, but right. For EA, the reason why I really don't get EA is just I think part of the turnoff is just how they treat their customers more than the actual games and partly the games that they release, because I think the good games they come out with, they really don't support good enough to the point where it just really backfires on them. So like key example, like Mass Effect Andromeda, they dropped the ball. They really did. Like forcing that game to come out early, like that's a game I'm starting to play right now, and it's a good game. I like the game a lot.
Is it? It's on sale for like $9 on PSN right now. Yeah. I almost bought it this morning. I think I'm like 6 hours in, and I'm enjoying it. And I liked the Mass Effect series, and I mean, I wasn't one of those that were like super mad about the ending. Like, hey, it's their story. They can end the game however they like to. That's their story to tell, not mine. But like, right. The way they treat the customer on like the microtransactions, and just the way they like screw the customer over in like, well, we don't care if this game is not ready. We're going to launch it now. And it comes out with a bunch of bugs. And guess what? It fails. And guess what? They blame the companies that they work with. And it's like, that's not cool. Or if you want to, you could also go with, I guess it's not necessarily a game thing, but they absorb studios and then, dissolve them.
Right. I mean, they basically say like, hey, we're going to take you in and we're going to like hone your skills. And yet they like it seems like they put unrealistic expectations on each of their studios. and go like,
Right.
well, we took you in saying we're going to let you do what you want, but really we're saying no, this has to come out.
Right. Yeah. I think what I don't want to get into this like an issue with EA practices, but one thing that just totally burned me is like is the closing of Visceral and like Dead Space just completely going away.
Yeah, and it's
Like that shit sucks because I love Dead Space and I don't know if we'll ever see another one.
and I think the biggest issue, like overall, is that that company is only in it for the money. And I know companies like that's the why you make a company. You want to make money. You want to have an income. But like if you have good games, the money's gonna be there. And I think like that EA is just too concerned about their bottom dollar than the games that they actually put out. Because like example, Dead Space, great franchise. Like the first game, amazing. Like second game, okay, they were going a little bit towards like doing the Fear Together, but then that third game, who knows if like EA was pushing them to say, well, we need something that has more multiplayer that's going to keep the people in the game longer so we can make more money. And it's like, you know, if they made a really good Dead Space 2 or a good Dead Space 3 that was the game they wanted to make potentially, that money would have been there.
All right, so you're saying one reason why you chose EA is because it seems like they're probably interfering with the games that devs want to make.
Yeah, and it makes me don't like their games because when I play them, it's like, well, or like when I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda right now, I'm like, this studio just got shut down basically in a sense. Like this group got dissolved and went to other studios, and it's like they made a pretty good game here, and like it's respectable, and it's because they actually had the time to put out all the patches that it needed, and it would have been like that when it got released. But no, they had to release it before the what was it, the fiscal cycle, and so like if that makes sense,
it's like the end of March or whatever. That sucks. Vincent, how do you feel about EA? Any notable?
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of the same things. Like, yes, they're a business. Yes, they're supposed to make money. But the problem is it's that they're transparent about how they try to make their money. Like, Blizzard's doing a lot of the same things that EA does, but doesn't look that way at the face of it. And when you see EA, like, you either are, this is going to be something that's trying to squeeze every single ounce of value through some way, or it's a game trying to specifically not be that, and we're going to try to make it go as quickly as possible. Like, did you two see the reviews for Faye that came out?
No, I haven't checked reviews for that yet.
It's 3 hours long and is style over substance in the worst possible way. Yeah, I mean, it's good for what it is, but when you have something that's like, here we are, we're trying to be an artsy game by being an artsy game.
Okay.
It has like a good core idea with the music, but there just isn't a game there. And EA's going to point to that and say, yeah, we're trying to do indie stuff. Hooray.
But yeah, it's like not that, it's not like a good effort. Not in the same vein of like a Grow Home from.
Yeah,
from
I was just about to point that out.
Ubisoft,
yeah.
Right. If you want to compare those two in that way. Yeah. I mean, I would say just EA and how they treat their customers is the biggest thing for me. I actually do play a fair, because they make so many fucking games. Like, I'm not looking at who makes what. I just buy a game that I like. I'm like, oh, there's the EA logo. Like, I didn't know. It just happens to.
Yeah, and then EA buys everyone else anyway.
Yeah, it's just like their logo pops up every now and then when I'm playing games. All right, that's a good one. I mean, I thought someone was going to bring that one up, and sure enough, they did. Let's save Bethesda, possibly. I want to see how far we go with my pick, and then maybe we can throw Bethesda in there because I kind of want to hear what you have to say about it.
So what game company publisher do you not get?
Now, this is a big one because I literally, I got to be careful how I use that. I'm interested in zero of their games. None of their games interests me in the slightest, which is why I thought about this, because I was thinking about like games I don't play, and then I just realized I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like any of these games and they're all made by the same publisher. Oh, that's a good topic. So that's how I kind of came across it. The publisher I couldn't care less about is Blizzard. Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, Hearthstone. None of those games interest me in the slightest. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I don't like real-time strategy games. Games that are just really based on loot or something grindy, that like World of Warcraft, like maybe the game is good, but when I see it, I'm like, this looks fucking terrible. Like it just seems like work. You're just working all the time. Heroes of the Storm is a MOBA. I'll never play a MOBA. It's just, my friend sat me down and like showed me League of Legends. I'm like, this looks terrible. And then Hearthstone is a card game. Like I don't fucking play card games. Man, I don't really do a lot, do I? I hate everything. But and Overwatch it's like a fucking it's a competitive online multiplayer shooter, and I hate all of those words. So yeah, I think it's a genre thing, really. I'm not interested in any of those games.
Yeah, Blizzard just goes for PC-centric genres. Like, I mean, what's their only thing that's really gone to consoles and succeeded? Overwatch. That's like them stepping out of their shells a lot. But otherwise, it's just a lot of PC-focused stuff, a lot of strategy, lots of stuff that focuses on the mouse. Like, yes, you can translate Diablo to console, but it isn't great. Yes, you can put Hearthstone on mobile, but that's mostly just a spin-off of their other franchise anyway.
Right. Yeah, you know what, Vince? I think you're right. Yeah, I never was a PC gamer, so I never like really had the opportunity to get into any of these games at any point when I was younger.
Yeah, like my story is strange. Like, I don't really play that many Blizzard games either. Like, I don't care about Overwatch since I don't like most competitive first-person shooters. I've tried StarCraft, and I'm just not fast enough to even do campaign and try to do that. Like, Diablo, I didn't really care about. Hearthstone I played for a lot, but I'd much rather play Magic, which is what it's really trying to be. Mm-hmm. But I play a lot of Heroes of the Storm.
Okay, so you're a MOBA. You're a MOBA guy. You're one of those people.
Yeah, it's my MOBA thing is like I played way too much League of Legends, but I just got sick of it. Like I still actually watch their esports a lot because it's a lot better when I'm playing it, but sure. I just don't like the skill floor of League of Legends.
Okay.
And that's a lot lower in Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
So my experience with
with
Blizzard is South Park, when they are trying to hammer out and try to beat the guy that's killing them all the time. That is my experience of World of Warcraft. But I have played Overwatch, and I would have to say I actually really enjoyed Overwatch. I think it deserves a lot of the praise it gets, because I think it gets the balance so well that really, even though it is a competitive game, it really makes you feel like you're contributing no matter what, regardless if you're like good or bad, which I'm not excellent at the game. And I have to say they have a guy with a bow and arrow that looks awesome, and I like playing him every time. So
he's in Heroes of the Storm too.
What is that guy's name?
Hanzo?
That's what it is. But okay. I do have to say they know how to make really cool cinematics. Some of those cinematics are really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let me put or just let me say that I'm saying nothing of the quality of these games. Like all of the games they put out and the cinematics and everything are absolutely amazing. Like I watch all the Overwatch, like little, it's like a Pixar movie basically. Like I would watch that movie. And the artwork, like the artists that they have, like like I don't know, when you look at like Hearthstone, a lot of the art and the card art, Diablo 3, a lot of that stuff, it's absolutely amazing. But at the level of the types of games and what there is included in those gaming experiences, it's like I'm just not interested. Erebus Jones is going to be pissed that I'm trashing Diablo 3. Okay, to be fair, if there is any game in here that I would try and play, would be Diablo 3, because it seemed like I like isometric stuff like that. My brother used to play Baldur's Gate and Diablo 2, and I used to watch him play it when I was a kid. Like they were a bit too over my head at the time, but I used to watch him play it. I did give Overwatch a try. There was a free weekend back in like October. I played it for like 4 hours. I played like a versus AI for a couple hours, and I was like, you know what, this is okay. I feel like I'm doing something. And then I went into PvP, and I was like, this game sucks. I don't have the patience or the interest in spending time figuring out, like, because the more you play, the more you start understanding like lanes and how shit works and how to play with a character. It's like I don't have the patience to sit down and study all that stuff, because I'm such a single player gamer. I need to like see the progression. You know, games that are linear, you're moving from A to B through a level, you finish a level, like that to me, like that's progression. I can't see it on such a minuscule level like a fighting game. I don't play fighting games either. The progression is you getting better at the game the more you play it, but there's no levels, there's no start or finish. It's like match by match, and I just can't get into that structure.
Yeah, like a lot of games have that self-improvement as their goal, and that's hard to get. That's why everything gives you loot boxes now.
Right.
That's your progression.
Yeah, and it's just not what I love. I love single player games. I always have start finish.
Start finish.
Start and finish, simple as, you know. Got Rise of the Tomb Raider, Uncharted 4, Shadow of the Colossus. It has a beginning, it has an end. I beat the game, I move on to the next thing. All right, so I think we're good with that. I'll see if I'll keep it in the episode, but Mitch, so you're not very interested in Bethesda. What games are you not interested in, and why?
There's only one game I really like loved from Bethesda. Well, I didn't love, but I really enjoyed. I did like The Evil Within, but to be honest, the one series I really just don't understand is Skyrim and Fallout. I just don't get it. I really don't. Like I think they're so buggy and so. I mean, it's just one that blows over my brain a little bit, and like it takes me out of the experience so much that like if they were cleaner and cutter, I'd be fine with that. And then I've mentioned in like Skyrim, like beating people up with a sword with waving it back and forth at somebody's face doesn't really get me as satisfied with combat enough.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Funnily enough, like I love Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. They're some of my favorite games ever. I never played Fallout 3, but I did play New Vegas, and I really, really like New Vegas, but I do get that. I do get where you're coming from with that. And it's just, and like I haven't played Fallout 4. I'm just not interested in it, even though I love the first two so much. And I thought New Vegas was a really fun game. But yeah, they're buggy, they're janky.
Well, I think.
But what about games like Dishonored or Wolfenstein?
Unfortunately, I have not played Wolfenstein, so that's part of my badness in this part. The reason why I was a little anxious about saying that one specifically. I have played Dishonored. Dishonored was okay for me. I think I loved the blink mechanic in that game, and I think it did some things really, really well. That world is slightly interesting, but the story didn't grab me as much as I wanted it to, and it really didn't make me want to keep going all the time. And then also, I think, oh geez, what was it? Platinum Journey kind of spoiled the first game for me a little bit.
Right.
But
yeah.
the one thing
I'm a huge fan of Dishonored and Wolfenstein, and that's in recent years. Like I never really played much of any Bethesda games until Dishonored, and now like I'm between Wolfenstein, Dishonored, and Doom. Like I'm on board with what they've been doing. I'm sorry, Mitch. You're gonna say something.
The reason Wolfenstein looked really good, and I liked that concept, and that's one I will eventually try out. Doom, I tried a demo of it, and I thought it was way too fast paced and too much of me trying to run away rather than I don't know. It's just there's just something about unsatisfying about me about how you're supposed to feel so powerful in this game, yet like you are kind of forced to run back a lot of the time and not press forward as much.
Sure.
And then I think one thing that really took me out of the Fallout series was I played Fallout 3 and I beat Fallout 3. So then when I played Fallout 4, I was like, what's different? Nothing.
Right, which is an argument that a lot of people have brought up. But
like if they did it in like Japan, that would be super cool to try and see. Like, and they would have different weaponry, but it's always in the U.S. And so, like, what makes it so different? Nothing really.
Right. All right, yeah, I get where you're coming from, especially with maybe with Fallout and that. I will say Doom. I've only played the first 2 hours of it, but yet the Wolfenstein games I actually blew through because I loved them so much. So maybe we're kind of on the same wavelength there. You might actually enjoy. Wolfenstein does not play like Doom, by the way. It's not as fast paced, and there's a good balance between stealth and action, and you can choose either for any situation. So it gives you that type of flexibility. All right, so it's a good topic, but we should move on to topic number 2. And now with Vincent saying that he is a massive Nintendo fan, I think this topic might get a bit more interesting. I didn't know that Vincent was such a huge Nintendo fan, but yeah, let's get into it. So Mitch, what is your topic of the show?
So my topic is, I kind of titled it the Nintendo Bump. And what I mean by that is, so kind of like a quick little backstory about my experience with Nintendo. My overall experience with Nintendo as a kid and growing up was really just the handheld. So I really just played the Game Boy Advance, the SP, then the 3DS, 2D, the DS, everything like that. So I really didn't own a Nintendo console until I bought the Switch this last year when I bought The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And so I always noticed that Nintendo always had really high scores for their games. And I always read the articles really deeply and everything like that. And it just always seemed like they're always on top. And so when I finally got to play some, I played a little bit of games as I grow up because my friends would have them. But this was really the time where I really got to play them for myself and really dive deep into these games. And I've always heard about this, about like how people feel like, some people, not everybody, because some people feel this way, is that Nintendo always gets a little like extra bump in their scores, and that like anytime that they receive any kind of minor backlash, so like the Super Mario Odyssey, like some people, or the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a lot of people were on forums like blowing up, being like, how dare you put a low score on Metacritic for this game is the best game ever made, blah 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 blah. And so when I was playing the games, I really felt like they didn't deserve that. I think they were good games. Really, I do. I think they're great games. But some of them, I'm like, really? That really is like Super Mario Odyssey. That's really a 996 on Metacritic. Like, I don't believe it. And so it really made me question of like, is there really a Nintendo bump? Or are there other companies that people feel like there's a bump for it too? But like, I don't know. Vincent, as the Nintendo man you are, let me hear you.
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, I'm not going to defend anyone who's attacking people over their scores. Opinions are opinions, and no, you should not be yelling that someone didn't give the games a 10. But overall, I think there's a couple of reasons you see that little bump. First of all, it's polished. In general, Nintendo's games, certainly their top tier stuff, the Zelda, the Mario, the Kirby in a lot of ways, most of the Metroids, they just have a polish about them. Like,
can you define polish for me? What do you mean by polish?
Like, they cross all their I's and dot their T's. They're not really buggy. The frame rate's good. Their graphics look great for the hardware. All that kind of stuff it's a little polished, that like you, and that happens without like a big patch to start with.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like, playing through Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, like, I never ran into a single bug in either game. I have seen some online, like Kotaku does that show about
the highlight reel.
Highlight reel. I've seen some Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild stuff, but I mean, between those two games, I put in over 200 hours, and I didn't even see a single bug. Frame rate, Breath of the Wild has a lot of problems, but
Yeah.
I do
Which
think,
I'll get
I
to
do
back
agree.
in a second.
Right, but I agree with what you're saying about the polish.
Yeah, and like the other thing that makes Nintendo's scores goes back to a bit about what scores are themselves. Like Nintendo's games are often like different genres, or at least different subgenres of like the general shooter or like the indie platformer or like the action adventure thing. Like this year was an oddity because there are like 4 different high profile 3D platformers released, but you don't normally see them. So when Mario does it the best, like if it's the best in its genre, why wouldn't it get a 10 or something?
Right. Okay. Did you have another?
Yeah, like or say when Splatoon is doing shooting, but that's more territory control than shooting. Obviously, no one's giving it a 10, but it's still higher than like it doesn't have to do as much to do like a shooter. Because if you're like ranking all of the very similar games, like Call of Duty and Battlefield are going to be similar, while Splatoon is something different. And like, how do you even grade something like, say, Labo when it comes out? You can't really grade that at all. Of course, right. I mean, it's probably not going to get a 10. At least I hope not. Yeah. I'm even a great Nintendo fan. I'll be shocked if that robot thing gets a 7.
I'm guessing it's going to score higher than a 7, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the variety pack looked good in the recent stuff they showed, but I do not see the depth that other people are seeing in the robot.
That's my big issue with Labo in general is I just don't see a lot of depth in those games. But maybe they're not for me. It's probably for for kids.
I'm not going to buy Labo either. No, certainly
not for that. Not for that price. I understand. But anyways, okay. So one other thing, Mitch. Okay, so I do think the Nintendo bump is real, and pure proof of this is that IGN gave Skyward Sword a 10 out of 10. That is the craziest fucking thing. That's probably the craziest and plain wrong. I know opinions are opinions, but this is not an opinion, okay? This is objective. Skyward Sword sucks. Again, fucking is terrible. And even if you like it, there is no way it's a 10. That is a bump. They go back to that score. I have issues with this, right? I can feel it bubbling up. But they said it was the best Zelda game when it came out. If that's not a bump, if that's not a review done by a journalist who grew up with Nintendo and has all the nostalgia, and which I think is a big part of it. And I get sucked up in that stuff as well because, my top 10 games of all time, half of them are Super Nintendo games because that was my childhood. And I love Super Metroid. I love Link to the Past. I love Secret of Mana, like all of these things. And when I play a new Zelda game or a new Mario game, like I get those feelings again. So I do understand that part of it, but that's fucking insane. There's one thing that annoys me about the Nintendo bump is, yes, these games are good. They are polished. But I hate the bump because I'm not saying it's across every single game, but especially with like Breath of the Wild and that, which by the way, if Yakuza, if I didn't play Yakuza 6 last year, Breath of the Wild would have been my game of the year. My games. Okay, so let's take out Yakuza 6. My games of the year are Breath of the Wild, number 2, Super Mario Odyssey, number 3, Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'm up there. Like, I agree that these are great games, probably more so than you, Mitch. Like, I think Super Mario Odyssey is the best 3D Super Mario game, hands down. But also, my second best is Super Mario 3D World, which most people would not agree with me on that. So take that for what you will. I think they're great games. I just hate that they're just a target is painted on their back when everyone goes over the moon for all of these games. More.
I think
don't know.
The bad part is like this bump. I think it just hurts the brand, and it's really unfortunate. Just because it's like, yes, like I even put in my notes. Like, I think Super Mario Odyssey is a great game. Do I think it's a perfect game that deserves a perfect score? Heck no. But I guess that's where like part of it is publications and like how they review games, and that's kind of an even bigger discussion that I don't know if we want to get into, but it's just it's just like my issues with Super Mario Odyssey. This is why it's not a perfect game. Like when you switch hats to control different characters, some of the controls are so bad. They're like, it makes getting those boons not rewarding. It makes them more difficult than they should be. There's like 999 moons in that game.
Yep, I got them all.
Seriously? Like, who would spend the effing time to get 999 effing moons? Like, seriously,
me.
I literally tried. I tried so hard to like sit down and like do a guide, because I think I was at like 400 without a guide, and I took a guide out and I was like, I'm gonna go through these, and I was like, this is so frustrating and so like
that's surprising to me.
And it took more of the fun out of the game than I thought, because I absolutely loved the story list, like the story, the plot they sent you through, and how it like progressed, and like the whole point of like the nice part was you were always collecting more moons than you needed, so then you could always just move on and you're not feeling like it's holding you back. But then
it was flexible. Stay if you want, or move on if you want.
Exactly.
I like that.
But then like the whole point of it, like saying like, oh, but we'll give you like really nice bonus stuff if you like get all of them, and like the fact that one place has like over 100 moons is insane. It's like, are you kidding me? And a lot of them are like the same task, and I think that was bugging me even more. It's like, you're not even coming up with creative ways to get these. You're just trying to like, let's just do the same moon 7 times for 7 different maps.
All right, Vincent. Got something on your mind?
So I think the point is that, first of all, you're not supposed to get 999. I think there's only like 836 like actual moons that
you have to buy the rest.
Yeah,
there's
the rest.
There's over 100, like 120 moons or so that you can buy.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, some of them are you're not supposed to get all of them. Like, if you're an average person, you probably just want to get to the end of the game. If you're a core person, you probably want to beat Darker Side, since it's like the final goal and like the hardest thing in the game. But then if you're crazy, you want to do everything the game has, and you want to get to 836 or whatever, or 999.
Yeah.
It's like Korok Seeds, only a little more meaningful.
Well, way more meaningful.
I guess the only thing for me is like,
Seeds.
I wanted to get to like the darker side. I wanted to get to like all the cool little nuggets it had for you, of like the cool tough levels where it's like the toughest platforming levels. But the problem is there's all these moons in your way, and it's like, if they just lowered the tier for the moons, I think it would have made my experience probably better with that game, because I like, if I wanted to get all the moons, yeah, awesome, I'll get all the moons. But like, it's like, that's like, the platforming is its bread and butter, and to like hold people back from experiencing what the best of its platforming is with its hardest level by making you collect almost like 700 moons to get there is just,
I think it's only 500.
It's like 500 or 530 or something like that. Is it 5?
It's only 500 to get to darker side.
Okay. You should get there, Mitch. I mean, that last section of that game, I died at least 45 times, or maybe even 50 before I beat it. It is that challenging. It's the platformers. You know, everyone who played Mario games growing up, it is like one of those levels. It's like, all right, let's see what you got. And it's super frustrating, but really, really rewarding once you beat it. But anyways, sorry, Vincent, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I tried doing Dark Side, but I was getting annoyed because, like, what it wants you to do is it wants you to have the 6 heart thing during the boss rush, and I just, like, I'd have to die and then go back, get a heart, and then go back.
Yeah,
which
that
annoying.
boss rush is a bit rough.
Oh yeah, I beat that.
I got to the final part of it.
Oh, okay. See, Mitch,
yeah,
you can do it.
I mean, I was close, but the problem is just that last fight. I don't know if we want to spoil anything.
Right.
Probably not spoil specifics, but
you know,
you were talking about how it's hard to control some of the hat possessions.
Yeah, and then like that.
See,
when you control them,
I never got that.
It's like you have to use them for the boss battle. So if they're not right, it makes the boss battle extremely hard, and it's not your fault because it's the way you're trying to control the thing, and that's not the point of that level. It's supposed to how to master how the opponent attacks you and how do you use the platforming to your advantage with it. It's not supposed to be how do you struggle with these controls. I guess the example I would use was the eating level with the food, and you have to control the little fireball in the soup.
Yeah,
and it's just so hard to like get the
Luncheon's probably the worst kingdom by far, unfortunately. Yeah, the fireball, it's hard to in that boss fight it's hard to tell where you're gonna land.
Oh, okay. I will agree with that. Sometimes it is hard to tell like where you're going to land, and instead of like jumping over something and into the lava, you like jump onto the platform
or under it.
Yeah,
and it's like what the heck?
Yeah, this is so interesting to me because I got 999 moons and I didn't look a single one up. And I'm not lying. I found them all by myself.
Wow.
And you know what the thing I think it took me about 80 hours to get to 100% that game. And when I got the final moon, I wanted more. Like I was sad I had to put that game down. Which makes sense.
You're probably going to get more.
I hope so. I hope the developers said that they're interested in DLC. I mean, they're going to release that weird balloon thing
sometime this month, but they have to be stupid not to do at least some sort of DLC, whether it's like a sequel game like Galaxy 2 or just make
another world,
more islands, or just more worlds, or even more stuff in the current worlds,
right.
Or like more of those little tiny rooms.
Right.
Those challenge rooms, that would work too.
Yeah,
if they wanted low effort stuff.
Right. I mean, this kind of turned into like a review of Super Mario Odyssey, but I just think it's it's interesting how, like, for me, I got all the moons, I found them all by myself. I fucking hit my head against the wall. To be fair, in a lot of those, especially the picture ones, the hint picture ones. The final moon that I got aside from buying the rest. Was a hint moon that I just could not find it, and it was frustrating the hell out of me. But I played it and I wanted more. So it's just one of those things. Like like some people, this one thing bothers them, and for other people that wasn't an issue. It's it's interesting.
So I open up to a quick question for you guys. Do you feel like there's a different company that has a perception of a similar Nintendo bump?
Blizzard. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. I can't back up.
Actually,
that claim,
I was thinking Rockstar in my brain for a second, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be worth saying.
Good. Let's tie it all together. Yeah, maybe. Like if you were grading the GTA series on pure the sandbox they created and the level of fidelity with those worlds and all that stuff, like it's the best of the best, but. In terms of story and a couple other things, I just think that it's unimportant. It's lacking severely.
And I think you nailed it on the head for answering the question. Like, what makes a perfect game is it does everything right. It does everything better than everybody else, or better than its in its category. So, like, the story has to be amazing. If the story's not amazing, it doesn't deserve a perfect score.
I will say though, and this is also one issue with the sifted rating system is I don't think you should be grading every single game in every single category.
Oh no! I'm sorry. Like if it has that in its category, then it needs to be judged based off of that. So like you use an example, the GTA, like the story wasn't awesome. The story wasn't perfect. So why does it deserve a perfect score if the story's not perfect?
Right.
And notably because it tried with a story, it clearly did some things right with it, but
then give it like a 9.6 or a 96 or a 98.
Right.
I think the problem overall with like reviews and it comes to like this bump is that like we all start at like a 7. And it shouldn't be that way. It should start at a 1 and then go from there. So then that way it allows a lot more fluctuation between like, because we don't really have games anymore that people review that are like unplayable like back in the day.
Yeah, because it's way too easy to make a baseline game using the engines nowadays. It's not like you have to try to program everything in assembly and hope that it works. and that the like platforming is different than every other platforming and all that. Now you can just buy a pre-made engine, and of course some people will just end there, but it's certainly a good starting point.
Wait, did IGN give Galaxy and Galaxy 2 a 10? Might as well.
That I don't know. I could look that up.
I should. Well, don't type in IGN Galaxy. You're not going to get Super Mario. I think I'm pretty sure Galaxy 2 got a 10. I'm going to edit this out of the podcast, by the way. Give me a second. Super Mario Galaxy review.
It got a 9.7 out of 10.
Okay.
For Galaxy
and
1,
I think
Galaxy 2 got perfect score.
Got a 10. Yeah. Okay, so...
Which
and
Galaxy
there's a
1,
lot of people that say the Galaxy series is... Yeah. Oh my gosh. A man after my own heart. I think they're great. I think they're great games, but I don't know. Like there are some. I was gonna say moons. There are some stars that specifically require motion controls to get, and they are terrible. Those controls, and playing with the nunchuck and the Wiimotes, it's like the worst controller I've ever had ever. And I would like playing some of with the cheesy ass motion controls. And this is coming from someone who didn't have an issue with the motion controls in Odyssey. I played with a Pro Control and I never had a problem with it. But the nunchuck and Wiimote controls, especially with the motion controls, it's like the one where you have to balance on a ball and like hold the Wiimote like vertically, and it's like a timed star. It's like this sucks. Like there's no way you can say that the game is a 10.
I 10 and is there a bump? I feel like there is.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? There's a lot of people that disagree with me that say like, "Oh, Super Mario Odyssey is not the best 3D Mario game." That's fine, but yeah, like I don't know, like you get, they're just like throwing 10s at Nintendo. Like Galaxy 2 is a 10, Skyward Sword's a 10. I know those are only 2 examples, but that's all I need to prove my point for the sake of time. But yeah, no, I think it definitely exists, and you know, they're kind of painting, and then I think people get frustrated because you know, they're just waiting for the next bump. Like, oh, okay, Nintendo's gonna get it. You know, the new game is gonna get a 95 or you know or whatever, and yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I think at least in 2017, I think Breath of the Wild is an amazing game. I think Odyssey is an amazing game, but well, they are some of my favorite games of last year. Like I totally think that you know, it's that the bump does exist. You know, it's like a lot of these people reviewing these games are just massive. They give it, you know, it's like the people that review. I keep begging on IGN. I'm not doing it on purpose, but you know, they have their Nintendo centric podcast, the Nintendo Voice Chat, and it's like the people that play all of the major Nintendo games or that review those games are like the biggest fucking Nintendo fans ever, and they're on Nintendo Voice Chat all the time. So it's like I do have to take what they say with a grain of salt. You know, Jose Otero, he reviewed Breath of the Wild. He works for Nintendo now. He gave it a 10, and that's not collusion because he reviewed the game before he started working at Nintendo. All I'm saying is they're giving these games to like the biggest Nintendo fans, so there is a sprinkling of nostalgia, and I think you do have to take those types of reviews with a grain of salt.
And unfortunately, I think it, like I said, it kind of hurts the brand, but like I think it also feeds into where the Nintendo fanboy, where like the hardcore of the hardcore fanboys, where they feel like Nintendo is the greatest of greatest, is because they're getting their ego fed with this bump with a perfect score every time. So they go, well, they gave them a perfect score, and it's like, did they really deserve that perfect score? Well, yeah, because they gave it to them.
We should also say like probably like high 90s, you know, mid to high 90s or perfect, right? Like when just so we're saying that like they don't necessarily always get a perfect score, but first party major Nintendo game, it's 90 or above. Yeah. But Vincent, I think you're right. There's one part of that, you know, that those games are going to be polished, right?
Yeah, and going back to like what I said, like that's why I don't think Zelda Breath of the Wild is a 10, because part both of those things, because it's not quite as polished because of all the open world, like they were clearly doing open world stuff, and that like while it's more polished than Skyrim, there's still a level that I'm not sure is possible to obtain without spending 20 years developing it. Then the other thing is that they entered a genre that other people have done, so it's not as clear that like we're the best in this genre because we're the only one who bothered with it, which makes Zelda so interesting for Nintendo
Well, and I
as a
think they just
company.
they're like, oh, this is a fresh new take on Zelda, so that makes it awesome. But it's like there's games that make better open worlds than what you made. Like, yes, there's some really endearing qualities, like going to a place and finding something and having the curiosity of it. But really, does that make it so much better than all the other extremely well made RPGs that are out there? That they, yeah, I rest my case.
Right. No, I think it's like I know it exists, but I still also like all of, at least if we're talking about their first party games, I still love them. But I do think they are sprinkled with tons of nostalgia, and they're mostly reviewed by like the biggest Nintendo fans at the outlet. I understand giving a game to someone who's interested in a genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me Dark Souls to review. I'm going to give it a 3 because I'm just not interested in it. Or don't give Shane a Dark Souls to review. Give it to Matt, that type of thing. But even with that, yeah, I think we all agree that there is a bump. It's not like collusion or anything. It's just, yeah, I think people tend to crank up the score by a couple tenths or even like a full point or two just because it's a near and dear genre or series to their heart. And so yeah, I think it's man, these ambulances just something's going on outside.
And before I get chewed alive in the comments, I do have to say, like, I did enjoy like Zelda Breath of the Wild. I did enjoy Mario. I think they're great games. I do recommend people go play
How dare
them.
you.
It's just that like it's that they're not perfect, and there's things that are wrong with them, but that doesn't make them a bad game. I've actually never had more fun with a Mario game in a long time, but still, like, it's not what it should. It's not what I don't think it deserved what it deserved.
All right. It's a good topic. Sorry, I got a little heated when I was talking about Skyward Sword. It tends to happen from time to time. I apologize. The game sucks. It's insane to me that a game that has great dungeons can suck so bad, because I actually like all the dungeons in that game, and yet I hate it. That's how bad everything else in that game is.
They used it to sell Motion Plus.
Fucking
That's
sucks.
pretty much
I
it.
hated that shit. But the dungeons are great. Like, they're so much fun. When you talk about classic Zelda dungeons, great dungeons in Skyward Sword. But the rest of the game is so... Hey, let's go back. Why is it always 3? Like, I get it's about the Triforce, but it's like, there are 3 locations. Let's go back to each location 3 times. I'm like, oh my God, I fucking went here before. And then you have that dumb robot. It's like, oh, well, you've been to the top of the mountain, but you got to start from the bottom with your robot friend, and if the enemies attack him and he breaks down, even if you're a foot away from the top of the mountain, if he gets hurt enough, it's an escort mission. They kick you all the way back to the bottom of the mountain. It's like, oh my God, this sucks. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
That
game.
third
Tomb Raiders
the third
agrees.
round was not great in that game. That was, we needed to...
And then it's like one of those things are like, what is IGN doing? They give it a 10, and then like a year later, not even like 5 years later, people look back and they're like, that was fucking crazy. Nobody thinks that game's a 10 now. I know they got probably caught up in the zeitgeist and the magic of a brand new Zelda game, which I get. It's not something that happens all the time, so I get getting caught up in that. But that everyone looks back on that. That's like the Chrono Cross 10 from GameSpot. Like, everyone looks back and they're like, what the fuck? You gave Chrono Cross a 10? But yeah, it's just one of those things that you got to consider it. And maybe that person really fucking thought that game was a 10. I don't know. But I almost based on zero evidence, I almost guarantee whoever reviewed that game looked back at it and was like, yeah, that wasn't a 10. Sorry, guys. I just got really excited about a new Zelda game, you know? But yeah, moving on to the end of the show. Podcastreload@gmail.com, at podcast_reload on Twitter. You can catch me at the stand user on sifted.net, Giant Bomb on Twitter. And if you want to join us on the show, then you can reach us at one of those places that I just mentioned, just like our guests did. And just send me a message, and we can talk about, what time you're available on the weekend, and we will have you on the show. We always are. We try to be as flexible as possible. And if you're interested in getting on the show, just send me a message at any one of those places, and we will work through it. So, time for goodbyes, Twitter handles, thank yous, any plugs. Mitch, what do you got for us?
So you can find me on Sifted as Mitch, and then you can check out my YouTube channel that I keep saying every time I'm on the show that I'm launching, and then I quit for some reason because I have some giant roadblock in my way. But I'm coming back strong. I got a cool unboxing video because I won as a Sifted subscriber a Loot Crate box. So I'm going to unbox it and make a video for it and post it on. So the channel is Freeze Frame Rate on YouTube. And no, it's great to be on. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me anytime.
Awesome. So that's Freeze Frame Rate on YouTube. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your unboxing video. I'm sure it's going to pop up on Sifted. All right. And Vincent, how about you? Twitter handles, plugs, mentions, anything?
Easiest way is just probably to find me at I'm Vincent on Sifted. Just message me if you have any questions about anything. It's probably the best way because social media is kind of in flux. I'm trying to slowly changing it all over to just a normal Vincent name. Like I changed my Twitch name recently. I should change my Twitter handle soon. So I don't know what I want to put it here.
So
yet.
You do yeah. Twitch, do you do streaming or anything like that? Oh,
no,
okay.
just like in chat. I technically stream like once in a blue moon. I did some Magic streaming, though that was mostly just to create videos from when I was doing some of my Magic content, Magic the Gathering, because I'm a writer for Magic the Gathering site.
Okay, that's where you polished your blurb writing skills, I imagine. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's where you can catch Vincent. And for me, I already mentioned my Twitter. The only thing I can say is I just wrote a blog on Sifted called Probably a Full List of Games I Beat in 2017. It's about 30 games on there, maybe. Just all the games that I beat in 2017. And I tried to keep the list as concise as possible, or the blurb of about each game as concise as possible, just because there's so many games on there. But it's just a list of games that I beat and what I thought about them. The worst game of 2017 is Lego Harry Potter, years 1 through 7. The game sucks. I'll never play another Lego game again. It's so offensively boring, as I've said time and time again, that I can't do it. But yeah, read that if you want. I'm not a good writer. I'm not. My writing's bad, but I wrote anyways. So you can make fun of my punctuation and all those types of things if you want in the comments. All right. That's going to do it for us here at Podcast Reload, episode 52. Vincent, Mitch, one more time, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anytime.
Thank you for having me. It was better than I thought it would be. I assumed I was just going to crash and burn, but I somehow didn't.
No, not at all. No, definitely. You should come on again. Should I add you to the list? The ever-rotating list?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Sorry,
we'll see.
All right. Awesome. Good to know. All right. That's going to do it for us here. Everyone, have a good weekend. See ya.